find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Recording volume high. Energy level sleepy.
Well, we're about to wake up our bones because it's time for another podcast episode.
I see the podcast episode. It's crawling out from underneath my bed. It's gonna get me, Katelyn.
It's gonna take you over and make you feel something.
Hello, it is me, the podcast episode.
Hi, can we do a good one this time?
I will give you a good one.
Okay, cool. Okay, Minnie's ready for a good one, apparently. She's here.
You must give the cat a kiss for me.
Okay, come here, cat. Come here. Oh, she recoiled. I'm sorry, she recoiled.
Then that is misfortune upon you and your host.
Damn it. Bye.
What happened?
You got taken over by the ghost of the podcast episode.
Fuck. Well, did you at least prevent us from coming across any sort of misfortune?
Yeah, you could say that.
Excellent. Well, I guess we're ready to start.
Let's go.
In days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie, halfway through the head Schwartz.
And I am Katelyn. Let's go to Quebec Heart.
Oh.
And you're listening, you are listening to the podcast where we talk about bones and bone-related topics. And wouldn't you know it, it's a late night record and we're feeling fine.
We're feeling a little bony, a little sassy, a little creepy.
That's right. And wait till I tell you about the weirdness that I found on the internet.
Oh man, that's the theme of this episode already.
How's it going? How's your week been? Anything bony and relevant?
I possibly might apply to a job I found as a cemetery groundskeeper.
Oh, hell yeah. Right on.
One of the responsibilities would be to assist in disinterments.
Well, I mean...
Hello, I'm there. I'm there.
That sounds grueling, though.
Yeah, but worth it.
Yeah, I guess.
To witness a disinterment firsthand. I mean, I feel like from what we've read, that's so rare that like it doesn't like happen, but they gotta tell you about it. Like you can't roll up on the scene and like 3 weeks from your start, they're like, all right, so Mrs. Finken's family wants to move her to Florida, so let's dig her up.
Yeah, I'd be curious about those kind of situations. I'd be curious about like police officers that are disinterring bodies.
I mean,
for legal purposes.
We never want any misfortune to ever happen to anyone, but, you know, if it was for something crime related, that would be extremely interesting.
Yeah. Well, does it pay well?
It does, actually. And I'm also very interested in like maintenance of gravestones as like one of the responsibilities, just like general gardening, which I kind of already love to do.
Yeah, cool.
You get to work outside. There's some stuff around like helping clean like crematory facilities. So
yeah, wait and see about that, I guess.
You know, we'll see. I was telling Odessa a little bit about it last night, and I was saying that if I saw a grave robber, I would be very angry. And she was like, you have to promise me you won't go shovel to shovel with the grave robber. And I was like, I can't promise that.
Yeah, that's fair. I was gonna say, like, why don't you take it one step further and bring back the mort safe?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, the way this country is going, I will be able to set up grave guns all over the cemetery.
Yeah,
no one can
exactly.
stop me. It's my right to bear arms for dead people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, shit. There's some irony there, actually.
Yeah, there's big irony because I'd probably be allowed to do that, even though living children are subjected to gun violence constantly.
There it is. Yep. Okay. There's just no segue out of gun violence in America.
Oh, you can't find a fun and silly way to segue out of gun violence against children in America?
No, I find it repulsive, actually.
Oh my God, same.
Oh my God. But I'm going to try and move us along because I'm going to take us up to Canada where they have fewer gun problems, I think. I don't know.
They better.
I hope so. Okay, so for my topic, I started it off strong with Atlas Obscura.
Nice.
Something called Nouveau Magazine.
Oh.
Which is cool. Wikipedia, obviously. And then, it's called biography.ca. So I think it's some kind of like Canadian university website or like a encyclopedia type thing. It's all linked in the show notes if you want to claim credit for it. I just don't. I'm not familiar. I'm in America. I'm going to start with a quote. I believe this was from the Canadian website thing. Quote, "There is scarcely any woman in all of Canadian history who has a worse reputation than Marie Joseph Corriveau, generally called La Corriveau. This wretched woman died more than 2 centuries ago, but she continues to haunt the imagination. People still talk of her crimes, real and fictitious."
Oh shit. This is gonna be a big boy.
So we're going way, way back to the mid 1700s in Canada.
What a time to be alive. Horse-drawn carriages, probably a lot of fur trappers, a lot of French people.
Totally. Yeah, so she's actually in New France at the time of this event, but by the time she dies, because obviously she dies in the end, it was controlled by the British. So I believe this was around the time of the 7 Years' War. So there's a lot going on. But for Marie, she's born in about 1733. And then around the age of 16, she marries a farmer boy.
Nice.
With an I.
He's big into farm boy core.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he beefs it in 1760, leaving her alone with 3 children.
Fuck.
Now, because she's her reputation is so wretched, legend has it that she killed her first husband by, quote, pouring molten lead in his ear.
Wow.
That's just a legend.
That's a new one.
But yeah, I thought I'd include it there. It was only in one source, but I was like, hey, I've never heard that before.
I mean, that sounds like it's probably apocryphal, but...
It is. It 100% is. But I was like, ooh.
But that's wild.
A couple years after her first husband dies, she marries another local farmer named Louis Etienne Dodier.
Well, she's got a type.
Yeah, farmers. Everybody is a farmer. This new husband, Dodier, he's not going to make it for too long because soon into their marriage, he ends up dying. It is January 1763, and he was actually found in the barn, and everybody at first thought that he was kicked in the head by a horse. But that was not the case, actually.
Oh.
So Dodier and Marie's marriage was like it was the talk of the town, basically, because they were fighting a lot publicly. And then Marie's father also got in a lot of fights with Dodier about like property and money. And it sounds like Marie had petitioned the court or whatever, however you would do this, to try and get a divorce on the grounds that her husband was physically abusive, which could very well be the case. Like that is, for the times especially, that I would believe that was accurate.
Yeah, definitely.
So when he shows up dead, everybody's like, okay, he got kicked in the head with a horse. But then when the doctors get there, they're like, This is not from a horse. There are stab wounds, and they are from a pitchfork. So a horse did not do that.
Well, I mean, I guess they don't have thumbs.
No. If a horse did it, it would have to be pretty impressively planned, I think. There might have to be some, like, duct taping of a pitchfork to a horse's leg or something. And they didn't even have duct tape,
like
so it would have been a
jousting
miracle.
type of scenario.
100%, yeah. It's just a jousting horse.
With a pitchfork duct taped to its leg. Not to the side, not to its back. Its little leg to do its little
stupid.
crimes.
It's stupid. It didn't happen that way.
Did not go down that way.
The pitchfork was wielded by a human being.
Ugh. Aren't they always?
Yes. So Joseph, who is the dad, and Marie, his daughter, are both accused of murdering him because he was found in their barn.
And they fought with him a lot.
Yeah. And because there's not really like a government for real.
Okay.
All of their like trials are like military trials. So they do this trial, and Joseph is found guilty of his son-in-law's murder, and Marie is found guilty of being an accomplice. So Joseph is sentenced to be hung, and Marie is going to be given like a corporal punishment, and then she's going to have like an M branded on her, M for murderer.
I mean,
Yeah.
geez.
So Joseph is sentenced, and then either like that same like second in the court, or like when he's confessing before his execution, at some point he's like, hey guys, just an FYI, I didn't actually do it. It was my daughter, and I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want her to be executed. But now that I'm about to be executed, I'm going to just tell you the truth. And so Marie actually confesses. She confesses to killing Dodier, her second husband.
Oh, shit.
And she used either a pitchfork or a hatchet. They're not entirely sure, actually.
Oh, so the doctor wasn't as sure as he thought he was.
I don't know. They were like pitchfork, hatchet.
So
it wasn't hooves.
Could
That's
have
all I
been
know.
a horse.
A horse wielding a hatchet strapped to its leg with a pitchfork in the other leg.
Oh my god. This horse is a
It's
menace.
a Pegasus. It's a Pegasus, actually.
More like a stabasis.
This is really good. This is good stuff.
This is good stuff. We should always record late. No.
I'm feeling it.
I'm feeling it, Mr.
okay.
Krabs.
So we have a second trial here.
1 second.
And it's even quicker than the first. So after the confession, we have a second trial.
Shit.
Yeah, because, double jeopardy is not like a thing, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Because she already got convicted of one crime, but, it's the military rather than like the court, the real court. I don't know. It's weird.
And it's not.
It was a wild time.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a lawless time.
Bit of a lawless time. They're charging her again.
Yeah. They didn't even get the approval of the king to execute her, but they were like, fuck you, we're going to execute you, and we're going to do it in a very gruesome way. So here we go. They sentence her to be hung, but then once she's dead, they're going to hang her body in a metal gibbet or a cage, like an iron cage, and they're going to display that as a warning to other members of the fine society that they're living in right now.
God.
She was hung in April 1763, and then her body was placed in the gibbet for about 5 weeks. How disgusting is that?
That is incredibly disgusting. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I mean, I think we've talked about this many times of like public displays of dead bodies were a thing a lot in Europe. I didn't realize we were getting down on that in Canada.
But it was the British, first the French and then the British are in charge. So it's like,
yeah, so they're just European somewhere else.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're like, we used to do a fun thing back home. We're going to put the dead lady in a cage. Everyone come look. Look, her
Exactly.
eyeballs
It's pretty
falling out.
It's really sick. Yeah, this one, I wasn't sure if this story needed a trigger warning or not because it's so long ago and it's like it's brutal, but there's a sense of like removal from it because it was in the 1700s. So I don't know. I hope this isn't too much for y'all.
Yeah, I saw an interesting meme that kind of gets at that. It was like archaeologists, like, when does your job become archaeology and stop becoming grave robbing? And my mom said that to me, and I was like, thought about it, and I was like, conservatively, 100 years? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
but it's like a similar thing.
That's pushing it.
Yeah, it's like a similar thing with, how removed do you have to be moved by the story?
Mm-hmm. So I think this is an interesting sentence. This was from Alice Obscura. Quote, Corriveau's extreme sentence, both shocking and cruel, cemented her story in the local history and culture. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Like, this was, like we were saying, this wasn't really something that happened in this land, this new land. So this was kind of a new thing. I have to wonder if her, like, being a woman, being a murderer had something to do with it. Like, were they doing this to men all the time?
I mean, that would be something to look into. It's something that certainly crossed my mind that, like, it's interesting. Female murderers seem to ride this, like, line of, like, the most repulsive thing that there can be, or being portrayed as the most repulsive thing in the world. Or, like, oh, I can't believe she did it. She's so pretty and womanish.
And pure.
And virginal and white. I mean, So it's like, we've talked a lot about, like, different female figures in history who have been, painted.
Demonized.
Yeah. And, like, it's interesting because, like, without being there, without knowing the context, could be that she was this murderous woman who killed both of her husbands and she's nasty and terrible, which, like, if she did, that is terrible and nasty. Or she could have been a woman whose first husband died and then second husband was abusive and he got the consequences of that. So it's like,
she tried to get out of it by legal means.
Yes, she tried to get
couldn't.
divorced. But it's like, we never condone murder.
No, of course not. And every story has especially even this one, has a ton of nuance.
Yeah.
And because it's so old, we'll never really know all of the ins and outs of it.
Yeah. God, if I had a time machine to go to that trial.
Yeah, I would go. I would want to see the moment where the dad was like, actually, just kidding.
Wait, you're really going to do it? You're really going to kill me? Ugh.
Shit.
Funny story.
So after the sick, disgusting 5 weeks is up, they take down the gibbet and her body. They take it all down and bury it in an unmarked grave near a churchyard. They bury the cage as well. Like, she's buried in it, which I just don't see the point of.
The idea of being buried in a cage is very visceral.
Yeah, it's a lot. And that's where she stayed for 100 years.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Oh my God.
There's even more to the story.
Bitch, I thought you were about to be done.
No.
Never. Not on this show.
No. So during the 100 years where she's buried in this unmarked grave, her story is still told. It's a sensational story because of the trial and the punishment and the murder of it all. And yes. Of course, as we know, as we were talking about, the story grows and gains some witchy elements,
Nice.
Like that she was a poisoner or she dabbled in witchcraft or that she actually killed 7 husbands or 7 men.
Ooh, 7's a nice witchy number.
It is, of course. And she is known as La Corriveau. Which does not have a French translation that I could find. It's just her last name. So it would be like if it was the Schwartz or the Hart.
The Hart is a really cool, like, killer name. Excuse you.
Okay. I don't want this. I don't claim it.
No.
So we are up to 1851. a little under 100 years after her burial.
You nasty Victorians, what are you gonna do?
And wouldn't you know it, they are doing some work enlarging the cemetery, and by golly, somebody steps upon or falls upon or somehow finds a fucking cage in the ground.
Holy
with bones
shit.
in it.
Holy shit. And I bet they knew exactly who they found, didn't they?
Well, I mean, I don't think it happened very frequently that I could find. So, yeah, they knew.
They probably came upon that and said, oh shit, and just ran out of the cemetery. They're like, this is Cursed City, baby. We're Victorians and we believe in ghosts.
I like to imagine that it's our character from the Norris episode, Joey.
Yes,
But
he's
in the
back.
Victorian era, and he's expanding the cemetery and finds Marie's body in a cage.
He's like, Ulster, not again.
Yeah,
I live in a non-linear time hellscape.
That's it.
He's got a little
God.
top hat and monocle, and he's driving like a steam-powered bobcat.
Exactly. Would you like to see the cage?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to take this opportunity to send you this picture.
Kuno is peacefully lying right next to me on the bed.
Oh, good. Rest, sweet boy.
Oh, God.
It's hideous.
That's bad. Like, okay. There are other kinds of gibbets that are like sea Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, like where it's just kind of a looser cage. This is a person-shaped cage. Like, this is like the corpse would be like almost like they're like, you know, structural supports. Like, it's
really haunting.
person-shaped. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
This is the stuff of absolute nightmares.
Yep.
The hook on top, I know that
Hate
was
it.
not used
Hate
in
it.
any sort of gruesome way, but it just really adds to the whole thing. I do not prefer this cage.
No. Put it away now.
Put it away now.
So within months of finding this cage, it went to some museums, you know. I mean, what are you going to do with this thing? So it was exhibited in Montreal, Lévis, which I've never heard of, and Quebec City. And then, wouldn't you know it, it ends up in the hands of fucking P.T. Barnum.
That son of a bitch shows up more places than you'd ever expect.
See, this story just gives me everything because it
keeps
has
on
so many
giving.
different things from from previous stories. We've got unearthing of a grave
Yes,
randomly.
favorite.
We've got P.T. Barnum.
Yes. Hideous execution.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving anything bones. Apparently, P.T. Barnum put it on display in his New York museum in August 1851 with a plaque that said, "From Quebec."
Oh, no, nothing else?
I don't know, but if I saw that, I would go right up to P.T. Barnum and say, "Excuse me, I need more information."
I would go to P.T. Barnum and I would say, excuse me, what are they doing in Quebec?
Oh, you're going to like this. So it's passed around to tons of different museums. And then in the early 2010s, members of the Lévis Historical Society rediscover this cage at the Peabody Essex Museum after it had been forgotten, quote, for most of the 20th century.
This is the shit. It's the
I know
shit.
This is our shit.
Because this is like, we love when a museum finds something in their collection. They're like, we straight up did not know we had this.
How do you lose a person-sized cage? I have to know.
We've talked about how they've lost whole people. You know, I think they just, you know, some of these museums are so freaking old that they get things in their collection and someone puts it back in storage and goes, well, we'll put this on display later. And then later does not come until the early 2010s.
Yeah. And so now it is at the Musée de la Civilisation. I didn't say that right. Let me take that again. Musée de Civilisation. The Museum of Civilization,
Okay.
probably, in Quebec, where it still is today,
Oh,
according
wow.
to I think this was Atlas Obscura. And La Corriveau, so Marie and her story, is a very well-known folktale still in Quebec, and her story has been turned into like books, songs, operas, plays, like all kinds of shit. And I just want to tell you about my favorite one.
Yeah.
To end this.
Please.
And it comes to us from 1863. So
Okay.
it's an oldie but a goodie.
All right.
So we had rediscovered the grave at this point, right? And it's P.T. Barnum's got it. So like this kind of reignites people's interest in the case because they just find this cage in the ground. And
yeah. And Victorians love morbid shit.
they love it. They love it. This is when people are going to the cemetery like for a day out. You know what I mean? Like, so they're living it up right now. Mm-hmm. So this like folktale or short story, whatever you want to call it, comes to us from Philippe Joseph Aubert de Gaspe.
I bet it's going to make me to gasp.
Probably. And it's, like I said, from 1863. I believe it's called Les Anciens Canadiens, which maybe means like the ancient Canadians. I don't know. All right. So the story goes that a traveler, his name is Francois Dubé.
Okay. Nice.
Dubé is walking around. He's traveling alone at night.
He's making his way downtown.
Walking fast, faces past, and he's homebound. Mm-hmm. And he hears a weird, like, ticking sound. And, like, he can't quite shake it. Quote, readers recognize this as the sound of the wind blowing through the cage and the bones of La Corriveau.
Nope, absolutely not. Hate it.
That's the sound. Is wind whistling through a cage of bones.
Now that is one of the more metal sentences I think I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. So he's walking around and he happens to start feeling sad for La Corriveau, and he recites the prayer for the deceased's soul. And this is important because she apparently never received last rites.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to this is a quote. I think this is like another source's retelling of this folktale, but it's just so good. Quote, soon afterward, in the pitch black, Dubé cannot see that La Corriveau has reached through her cage and is climbing on his back. La Corriveau wants Dubé to piggyback her across the St. Lawrence River to the Isle d'Orleans, where her fellow witches and will-o'-the-wisps are celebrating their Sabbath.
She just wants a piggyback ride.
And I'm going to pause for a moment here and send you another picture from this story specifically.
Oh, no.
This is the picture that started it all for me.
I figured that's, oh my God, it is a skeleton inside of a cage, the kind of cage I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's not accurate to what the iron cage, the gibbet, actually looked like, but we get it.
Yeah. But this skeleton is like crawling, like sticking its arms out the cage and scaring the absolute shit out of this poor guy with a floppy little hat and a stupid little look on his face. He's like, I did not expect this today. I don't know if I have time for a piggyback ride today, ma'am.
No.
Ma'am, get off me.
So allegedly, this is a kind of a wimpy ending to the story, but this guy, Dubé, faints, and then when he wakes up, he believes that his experience was a dream until he sees an empty bottle of liquor.
Sir.
And he's like, oh, that was La Corriveau. She drank it.
Oh, she drank it?
Yeah, it was her that drank it. But anyway, so that is my favorite of the folktales about La Corriveau. And also just the fucked up story about a poor woman, or possibly a bad woman, who this just didn't really need to happen. Nobody needs this. Yeah.
I mean, God.
That's all.
If anyone's gonna come back as a ghost because they had a fucked up ending, it's gonna be this woman.
Right?
I mean, shit on a shingle. That's some fucked up treatment. Also, the sound of wind through bones in a cage is something else. That
awful.
is something else. What is this?
I sent you one more picture. It's a sculpture of Le Corriveau.
Aww.
It's real creepy and real sad.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's creepy, but it's the most like sad kind of humanistic representation of her.
Mm-hmm. I know. She almost looks like awake in this one. It's really creepy.
I mean, this whole story gives me the heebies and then consequently the jeebies.
Well, I'm so sorry for that. I apologize.
That's okay. Even though I'm 10 out of 10 fully shivered, I enjoyed this so much. This story
good.
is top notch. It really did have absolutely everything.
Yeah, it had a lot of things that we love. So as I kept reading about it, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah, shit. That story is amazing. I'm so glad you did that.
Thank you. Well, while everybody tries to recover from the image of a skeleton in an iron cage coming after you, go ahead and listen to this ad and think about what you would give that skeleton to get it away from you.
Oop, she's got me by the behind.
Hey, Freaky friends! It's Michelle and Melissa from the Freaky Fridays podcast. We are sisters in separate states and love to talk about all kinds of spooky, freaky, and scary shit while drinking and laughing through our fear.
Join us Fridays as we delve into everything from the world of the paranormal to scary movies to creepy stuff we find around the internet. Subscribe to Freaky Fridays wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Sleep tight.
Make sure you leave the lights on.
Freaky Fridays is a proud member of the Podmoth Network. For more awesome pods, check out podmoth.network.
Fine. I will piggyback you to Burien, but then you have to get a bus somewhere else, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, while she waits in the corner and stares at me with her terrible empty eye sockets, let me tell you about the subject of our next bony tale.
I'm ready for it. This is Katelyn. I'm back. I'm not afraid of Le Corriveau in the corner.
The lady doth protest too much. So, first of all, I would like to say that we somehow switched interests for this week. You have brought something old and exhumation related, which is usually my favorite wheelhouse to spend my time in. And I have brought you one of the most infamous hitmen that ever existed.
Holy shit. Okay. I'm ready for it.
So I thought of this because hitmen have been in the news recently. There was a Navy Air Guardsman who was recently caught up in a murder for hire hitman sting because there was this jokey joke website that's called like Rent a Hitman or like hireahitman.com or whatever. Something where it's like, you gotta know this is fake, right?
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
But then again, I've never seriously wanted that service, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's never been my side of the internet. It's a lot of videos of anteaters now.
Yeah, and dogs and cats. That's where I like to be.
Hell yeah, but this guy was like, I see this website. I see you can fill out an application. So he fills out an application. And the people who run the website are like, oh, look, this guy filled out an application to be a hitman. That's funny. People do that all the time. But then he followed up with it for a month and kept emailing them being like, hey, I'm very passionate about becoming a hitman. I have lots of experience in murdering people. I would like to murder people for a living.
No.
He sent them a headshot.
Ew.
I know. So,
dude, you're doing too much. You're not meant to be a hitman if you can't keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yes, suppose this was a real website. I think those hitmen would think he was very uncool.
I'm sorry, what hitman is leaving an electronic paper trail? What?
Bad one.
What?
But he eventually, was turned into the FBI and they were like,
good.
you know, they did a little good old fashioned sting on him. And they went to him and they were like, okay, like, we'll hire you to kill somebody, you know, undercover or whatever.
Oh my God.
And he was like, yeah, for sure. Do you need a picture of the dead body? And they were like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
But I was like, Joe, what kind of topic should I do? He was like, we were just talking about hitmen. Have you ever done the Iceman?
No.
That's what
I don't think I've heard of it.
Oh, Caitlin.
Maybe I have. Maybe you're going to tell me more and I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Maybe you have. I feel like I had not heard about him. I feel like he is a different type of serial killer than usually is examined in like the true crime like spectrum.
Sure.
Or area.
Yeah.
Arena. That's what I was... Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'll look into this guy. And 10 minutes later, I was like, well, I have enough for forever. Thank you. So I'm going to be giving something of an overview. One could do an entire podcast series on this guy. So if I've missed anything, Iceman stands, please forgive.
Yeah, it's a medium length podcast, so please.
This is going to be a long podcast this time. Hello and welcome to the content warning. So I just thought that I'd put a little bit of a content warning at the top of this story because we do talk about killers a lot, but this guy's a whole nother breed. We're going to be talking about some pretty brutal killings and some pretty violent techniques, as well as violence towards children. So if that's something that you feel like you don't want to hear about today, we'll see you next week, and we love you very much. Bon voyage! So we've got a source from All That's Interesting, one from Medium.com, one from Murderpedia, and of course, Wikipedia. So, Richard Leonard Kuklinski was the child of Stanley and Anna Kuklinski, and he was born on April 11th, 1935. And he was born in Jersey City, New Jersey. So his dad worked for the railroad, but unfortunately he was an alcoholic and he regularly physically abused his wife and children.
Not great.
Yeah.
Definitely not great.
And then on the other side, we have his mother, who was super Catholic and very strict and would also beat Richard Kuklinski and his siblings. So when Kuklinski was 5 years old, his older brother was actually killed by his father.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the father ended up murdering his own child because he beat him so severely. And then they told authorities that the child fell down the stairs.
Oh my God. And they were believed?
I mean, this is like the 40s.
Oh, so yeah, they were just like, okay, see ya.
Yeah. And, you know, experiencing all this violence at such a young age, Kuklinski developed quite a temper as a child, and he was known to torture and kill stray cats and dogs in the neighborhood.
Ugh, I hate that.
Yeah.
That's part of the triad of sociopathy, I believe.
Yes. That wetting the bed and setting fires.
Yeah.
So by 8th grade, he dropped out of school and was having trouble with bullies. In 1948, at the age of 13, he was like, I have had enough. And he ended up beating his bully, Charlie Lane, to death.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's rough. It's not okay to bully. It's not okay to murder. It's just bad all around.
It's horrendous because he would later say that he did not intend to kill this other child, but he did dump this kid's body off of a bridge in South Jersey, and he had removed his teeth and removed his fingertips.
Okay. Hold on. So how old is he again?
He's a 13-year-old boy.
Is he removing the teeth for a forensic countermeasure or just because he wants to?
I would assume for a forensic countermeasure, but
how the fuck does he know that at 13? How do you know that?
I don't know.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
From this point on, he seems to take out his anger with violence towards almost everybody around him. He would hurt random people because he didn't like the way that they acted towards him. And he would grow up to be quite a big dude. He was 6 feet, 5 inches tall, and almost 300 pounds. So
Jesus. Yeah.
big dude. And of course, the path that we all want someone to go down when you're plagued with horrible anger issues and predisposed to violence, we all want you to get involved with the mafia.
Yes, we all want that.
Every one of us wants that.
I don't. I can't even pretend for more than a few seconds. I don't want that.
No. So unluckily for Kuklinski, he ends up indebted to a mob member, Roy DeMeo. And when DeMeo sends his group of thugs to beat up Kuklinski, he takes the beating super well. And the mob guy is very impressed by that.
Okay.
And so he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to recruit this guy after he pays me. And he paid him, Avi.
Great. Great. Great.
So DeMeo is like, we're going to put him to the test to see if he'll be a good killer and enforcer for the mob. So they drive him up on a random street. They park the car. They see a guy out walking his dog and they point to him and they say, go kill that guy. And he goes, okay. And he just gets out of the car, walks over there. And while the two are passing on the sidewalk, he shoots the guy in the back of the head.
Jesus Christ. Just for no reason other than he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hideous.
Yeah.
So from here on out, he starts working with the mob and doing all sorts of criminal activity, from trafficking in illegal pornography to robberies and, of course, beating up anyone that the mob doesn't like.
Sure. Whatever. Do your thing, I guess.
So by doing his thing, he gets a lot of positive attention in the criminal scene, especially of the Gambino crime family, of which DeMeo was a part of. And so his reputation begins to spread out in the criminal world. And he starts getting hired by another notorious mob family, the Cavalcante.
Wow.
Family.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. I'm not good with Italian. Who are like, yeah, we're going to hire him to do some killings too. And so, by 1954, he was in his killing era. I think you meant to say he was in his slay era. Okay, I'll leave. And he would make regular trips from New Jersey to New York City to kill for fun.
Oh,
So
outside of his...
Outside of work.
Oh my God. This guy is so scary.
Yeah, and the thing is that he would kill people who annoyed him, who he, like I said, who he thought acted wrong, or who offended him somehow. And God knows what he thinks is offensive.
Right. It's crazy that he just isn't getting caught. It's just wild to me.
Well, he does his murders in actually a variety of different fun ways.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, with the teeth pulling, he's unfortunately very adept, as a criminal. So that's really scary.
I mean, he's terrifying because, a lot of killers will kill just in the same way over and over again, or dispose of a body in the same way. But this fellow, for his murders, he used a gun, strangulation, a knife, and sometimes poison.
Ugh.
So we've got a variety of methods, and the number of people that he has murdered is unknown, but it's said to be between 33 and 200.
Jesus Christ.
And he shifted his weapons constantly between what I listed for you. And so the police were like, this isn't the work of one person. This is just many random murders. And I mean, the guy was... He's fucked up thoughts. He would put cyanide inside of a nasal spray bottle and spray it up people's noses.
What? Like, oh, so depraved.
Yeah, he loved to use cyanide because it was hard to detect on toxicology tests. And he would put it in people's food. He would aerosol spray it. He would just splash it on people's skin. The guy is cyanide happy.
How does he know so much about the criminal justice system and, like, science? When is this again? When is this happening?
This is 50s.
He's really ahead of his time in such a bad way.
Yeah, he really is.
So scary.
And I mean, it only gets scarier from there. He would like use various chemicals to like melt people down in these, large 55-gallon oil drums. He would dismember people. He would just do, some regular burial. He would place people in the trunks of cars in junkyards to be like demolished with the cars.
Jesus.
He also would freeze bodies for amounts of time and then drop them in places to confuse people as to time of death.
Whoa, like wild.
He would put dead bodies on park benches.
This is some Law and Order, like CSI shit, like I've never heard.
But, in all of these, he was removing the teeth. He was removing the fingerprints.
Ugh, God.
Like, this man, I believe, also, like, enters the realm of fiction in some forms because, like, everything that I'm reading you is backed up in multiple sources. But there are things like, he supposedly left victims in mine shafts. There was one absolutely wild thing where he said the man is also a pathological liar. So some of this is, he said that he would kidnap people and put them in caves to be eaten by bats.
Oh, God.
But it's like I don't put that past him though, right?
Somehow, yeah, he's like an evil genius.
Yeah, and all this time the police are thinking that these are all unconnected crimes. And they're blaming the unhoused population.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course. Perfect scapegoat.
Mm-hmm. So Kuklinski continues to carry out his mob hit assignments, and he kills without hesitation. And so the other, people in the criminal organization start referring to him as the devil himself. And, this possible cold calculation is what gets him the name of Iceman, as well as his proclivity for freezing victims.
Yeah, but not everybody.
But let me tell you a quick story about what he considers the value of human life, how he sees that.
Okay.
So one day, he's like on the side of the road fiddling around with a crossbow that he just got. Brand new crossbow.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. And so he calls over another motorist who's driving by. He's like, hey, guy, come here. And the guy goes over maybe to see if he needs some help. Kuklinski shoots him in the eye with the crossbow. And the arrow, Kuklinski said, went halfway through his head.
Ugh.
And when asked, sir, why did you shoot a random person in the head with a crossbow? He said that he wanted to make sure that it worked.
He's really like a villain out of, I don't know, like not even a Marvel movie, just like some depraved horror movie.
I mean, it's cartoonish.
This is like Saw level shit.
Yeah. But of course he had 2 rules that he would not break.
Oh my God.
No women, no children.
Those were the rules?
Yeah. No killing ladies, no killing chillins. Which is like,
Wow, like, can we get a slow clap from the back for that? Like,
For the bare minimum.
What? Like,
God, I don't know. It's the way that he sees himself that just...
Yeah, he's like totally above the law and like above... I don't know. He's like a god. He thinks he's a god and he can just like choose people to get rid of.
Oh, Katelyn, allow me to tell you a story.
Shit.
So, Richard Kuklinski, our guy, gets a assignment to kill a certain fellow. And while he's, kind of getting ready to kill him, the guy starts begging for his life and he starts praying. And Kuklinski was like, okay, I'll give you 30 minutes to pray to God to see if God is going to help you. And here is a quote about that incident from Kuklinski. Quote, "But God never showed up, and he never changed the circumstances. And that was that. It wasn't too nice. That's one thing I shouldn't have done, that one. Shouldn't have done it that way."
Ugh.
He was like, I'll wait for God and see if God helps you.
That's so scary.
It's terrifying. Joe was like, did he really have to break the man's belief before he murdered him?
That's so scary. He's so awful.
He's terrifying. He's absolutely terrifying.
Oh, I want them to catch him.
Meanwhile,
okay.
In 1961, he marries his wife.
No. Come on.
Barbara. And she did not know that the man that she was marrying had already killed about 65 people by this point.
Oh my God.
They have 2 daughters and a son, and his family and his neighbors never are made aware of what he does for a living. They think he's a businessman.
These dudes can just switch it on and off. That's something that's really scary about it.
Yeah. This guy was a family man. He lived in suburban New Jersey.
They compartmentalize like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. And he was, like, their family was very affluent. The kids went to private school. And you know where one of his favorite places to go was?
What, like church or something?
No, Katelyn. Disneyland.
No, that almost ruins Disneyland for me.
Almost.
Oh my God.
But don't worry, he was also an usher at Mass. So you were half right.
Kind of right, yeah. Oh my God. The happiest places on earth.
Joy to the Lord. Of course, I think you can probably predict this, but he was an incredibly abusive husband and father.
Okay, yeah.
You can't completely compartmentalize it. You are only one person.
Well, yeah, it's interesting that he won't kill women and children, but anyway, continue.
So he would physically abuse his wife. He broke her nose on one occasion.
Oh, God.
He purposefully tried not to beat his children, is what he would say, and he would sometimes punch himself in the face until he passed out to stop himself from beating his own children.
What?
Yeah.
I just can't even comprehend.
And of course, he was incredibly emotionally abusive to them. He said he only really loved one of his daughters.
Oh my God. This guy just like, it never stops, his depravity.
These kids, they had go bags ready in case he killed their mother.
What?
In an interview, Kuklinski said, quote, "Most likely wouldn't kill a woman," but one of his daughters was quoted as saying that he told her that he would have killed her and her 2 siblings if he had ever beaten their mother to death in a rage.
It's crazy that those thoughts even went through his head to me.
Right? Like, he's like, you better not be around if I kill your mom, because I'll kill you.
Jesus Christ. And they knew that, and they had to live with that. That's terrifying.
It's absolutely horrific. This man is your father.
Ugh.
But, he kept up this double life that he was having for himself. He was compartmentalizing these 2, what he decided were 2 disparate parts of himself. And as a hitman, he never told anyone about his personal life or his family. He never socialized with any of the other mob people. And he never engaged in like drug use. And he never like bought anything that the mob wanted to sell him. So those were his rules for staying out of trouble. But it's the 1980s, and he's been working as a hitman for about 25 years. And he's like, you know what? It's time for Kuklinski to have his own crime ring.
I thought you were going to say retire.
Never.
Oh my God, this guy.
Yeah. But the authorities have now caught on to him, though. He's killed one too many completely innocent people for fun. And they start working on an undercover operation, and Detective Pat Kane starts an operation that lasts about 6 years prior to the arrest. He is involved in a joint operation with the New Jersey Attorney General's office and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So we're getting the ATF involved.
Damn, that's bringing in other big guns. I don't know.
Different big guns.
Sure.
So Special Agent Dominic Poliferone, or Polifrone.
Polifrone sounds about right.
Polifron. He had undercover experience specializing in mafia and mob cases, and the New Jersey State Police and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm began a joint operation. So we have Detective Kane, who I spoke about just earlier. He recruits a guy named Phil Solimene, who is a friend of Kuklinski's. Kuklinski does not have many friends, but this guy is one of them.
And has a conscience, it sounds like?
Has a conscience, or doesn't want to get fucked by the justice
Who knows,
system.
I guess. That's a lot to ask in this story.
Exactly. For someone to have a conscience. Yeah. So Phil Solimene helps the ATF in a sting operation that they're doing with Dominic Polifrone. Phil Solimene is like, hey, Kuklinski, I have a potential client for you. It's this guy, Dominic Polifrone. And do you want to do a murder for him? And he's like, hell yeah, I do murders for a lot of people.
Yeah, obviously.
So they basically acted like they were like, yeah, we're going to hire you to do the murder. And Polifrone recorded him speaking about how he was going to do the killing. And when police went to arrest Kuklinski, they ended up blocking up off his entire street, and it took multiple officers to physically arrest him.
Oh, yeah, I bet he didn't go down without a fight.
No, definitely not. So in 1988, a New Jersey court ends up convicting Kuklinski of 5 murders and sentences him to consecutive life prisons, which would make him, which means that he would be eligible for parole when he was 110.
Okay, I think I'm good with that.
Yeah. But in 2003, he also pled guilty to a 1980 murder of an NYPD detective. And so he gets 30 more years for that.
Pack it on.
Yeah, I say the more the merrier. So during his time in prison, Kuklinski was like, I will be interviewed by anyone who wants to.
Okay.
And so there have been numerous documentaries about him, TV shows. He was interviewed by Dr. Park Diaz, who is known for his interviews and psychological analysis of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Damn.
And there were also interviews of him aired on HBO in 1991 and 2001. There was also a book written about him called The Iceman.
Okay.
And he's been interviewed on TV several times from prison. And in one interview, he said, quote, I've never felt sorry for anything I've done other than hurting my family. I do want my family to forgive me.
No, dude. Come on. Like, what makes you think you deserve that?
He doesn't. He absolutely doesn't. But, you know, as the wheel of time turns, the aged hitman, you know, after 25 years in prison, starts to have health problems.
Oh, no.
I know, boo. He has incurable inflammation of the blood vessels.
Oh, that's not good.
Sorry about it. Sorry about your blood vessels. Are those important?
Yeah.
I don't know. We only know about bones. Sorry, can't help, bud.
That's actually not true anymore because I work at a vascular surgery clinic now.
Shh.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I was just... Okay.
Don't help him with the veins.
All right. You're right.
Put your vein knowledge away.
It's gone. It's gone.
So he's transferred to a hospital, and during this time in the hospital, he's deteriorating mentally as well. But in a moment of clarity, he's like, hey, if I flatline, doctors, if I die, you have to bring me back, okay? You have to try to resuscitate me.
Oh, he's afraid of death?
Yeah. How funny.
Okay. Interesting.
So he's like, resuscitate me, okay? And then they went to Barbara and they were like, hey, Barbara, are you cool with that? His wife. And she says, actually, I'll sign this do not resuscitate form. And actually, a week before he died, they called her to be like, hey, we see that you signed the do not resuscitate form. We just want to make sure that that's like still the decision that you're going with. He's getting kind of bad. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want him resuscitated.
God.
And he dies.
Rot in hell.
At the age of 70 on March 5th, 2006.
Damn.
And the thing about his death is,
What?
it's suspicious.
God damn it.
So he's scheduled to testify. Remember when we talked, I just told you that he got his like 5 life sentences or whatever it is, 3 life sentences. And he also got 30 years for killing a policeman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to testify in that case. And another man that's involved with the crime is also in the same prison for an unrelated drug ring in Arizona. But he's there nonetheless.
Sure.
And Kuklinski had told his family at one point that he thought that someone was poisoning him. They, quote unquote, they were poisoning him. I don't know who that refers to, but possibly these people, because he died. They did an autopsy on there. They were like, well, nothing is showing up. But after he dies, all the charges against one of these defendants in this case are dropped, because without the testimony of Kuklinski, they can't bring the charges.
That is interesting. I don't know. Seems like it could be, I believe either way, if it was a natural death or if he was poisoned.
I would prefer if the hitman got hit.
Yeah, for this guy, yeah.
But that is Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman.
Holy shit.
Right?
Good job, Soph. That was wild.
And that is just scratching the top of the Iceman's iceberg. Because all of his like crime involvement, he was doing so much crime and so much killing.
I don't want to go to his iceberg.
No, if we're playing Club Penguin with Richard Kuklinski, we're not going to his iceberg.
I'm throwing my computer out the window.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Oh my God.
He does not get to play Club Penguin with us.
No.
Rot in hell, you
exactly.
terrible man. The
Yep.
way he treated human beings was hideous. And like his just utter disregard for human life is impressive in the worst way.
It is. Yeah, it's really remarkable just how shitty you can be. And then you juxtapose that with like being really afraid to die when he had this view about human life. It really speaks to how he viewed himself, like above it all.
Yeah, and that whole thing with the guy waiting for God to intervene, like it just smacks of him being like, I'm God in this situation.
Yep. He got
I
off on
choose
it.
if you live or die. Exactly.
I hate him so much.
He like truly did not think of people as having any like mattering at all. And like he seemed to like love some members of his family.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know how this person has any feelings at all.
No, but he wants to be forgiven by his family.
Ugh, no.
Even though he threatened to murder all of them.
I hope they were able to like move on after this very much.
I have no idea what it's like to have that kind of person in your family, but they made a movie in like I think 2012.
A documentary?
No, a movie.
Oh my god.
Who did it have? It had Winona Ryder and what was it, Michael Shannon?
What's it called?
It's called The Iceman.
Oh, okay.
And it has Michael Shannon and Winona Ryder in it. And it looks pretty dramatic. Joe and I watched a trailer for it. And it seems like it portrays... They took like almost a direct quote from him about that God situation. That's in there. But like, I saw some other stuff where it's like, that might not be correct.
I don't really have an interest in watching that one. This guy gives me the heebie-jeebies.
No, and after everything that I've read about how brutal he was, like, I don't want to witness any of that.
Right.
Wow, brutality level high this episode.
Yeah, everybody go to get a cookie and like a glass of milk or almond milk or something. And sit back and relax. We went on a journey and we felt everything.
Yeah, maybe like palate cleanse yourself with some pictures of some cute animals.
And if you're craving more bone content, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Stitcher or wherever you can leave stars on Spotify now. It really helps us get noticed. So we appreciate that a lot. And we appreciate you. And you should appreciate your bones. And also, Bone Voyage.
We love you. Bye.
We really do. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Ooh, she's got me by the behind. She's got me by the freaking behind. This old hag pinched my butt cheek.
Sick.
It's fucked up.